the sound of an American V8. Insane power on the rear wheels. The thunderous roar of hundreds of horsepower. This is one of the best representatives of the legendary muscle cars, here and now. Challenger. Once upon a time in America, gasoline was cheaper than water. Nobody cared about ecology, and most Americans moved around in huge land barges. The ultimate symbol of prestige was an incredibly large V8 installed under the hood, and if the engine displacement was less than 5 liters, such a car was disdainfully considered a small economy vehicle. Size, comfort, and power were the defining features of most American cars of those years. The fuel consumption of such liners on wheels was also quite high, but no one paid attention to it because at that time a gallon of gasoline cost about 30 cents. Taking inflation into account and converting gallons to liters, dollars, and rubles, it turns out that a liter of gasoline cost around 11 rubles or even less. Such cheap fuel explains Americans' love for huge and powerful cars because nobody was particularly worried about fuel consumption. Very soon, America would be swept by a real automotive revolution. The era of muscle cars was coming. In the 40s, the so-called baby boom occurred, a sharp increase in birth rates, and as Americans joke themselves, every third child was conceived in the back seat of a huge American cruiser. Marketers predicted that by the early 60s, those children would grow up and rush to get driver's licenses, which meant it was necessary to create a car that would be affordable for young Americans. At the same time, the car had to have a bold, youthful design and, of course, a powerful engine so that hot young heads could realize their wild temperament. Automakers gave them such cars: the Pontiac GTO, Ford Torino, Ford Mustang, Chevrolet Camaro, Plymouth Barracuda. This is only a small part of the cars that were desired by American youth of those years, but one of the craziest legends of that time was the Challenger, a true monster of the muscle car era.
New sports specialty car you've only heard rumors about. Brand new Dodge Challenger.
The name Challenger is translated as, says challenge, and that challenge was thrown toward the best representatives of the class, such as the Ford Mustang and Chevrolet Camaro. The price of the Challenger for America was shockingly low. Even in the most powerful and richly equipped version, it was about $4,000, which was roughly equal to 10 months of income for an average American. If anyone is interested, the Moskvich 403 in the USSR at that time cost approximately the same money. I will pause here so you can fully realize this fact. The Challenger was equipped with a huge lineup of engines. The weakest was a 6-cylinder producing 145 horsepower, but the main trump card in the fight against competitors was the legendary V8 HEMI engine. This monstrous 7.2-liter engine produced an incredible 425 horsepower for the early 70s. Controlling such power was extremely difficult because muscle cars of those years had a very simple design. At the core was a frame with the body mounted on it, an independent front suspension, and a heavy, solid rear axle. All this considerable power was transmitted through a 3-speed automatic or manual transmission. Most of these cars did not even have power steering. In terms of design, muscle cars, including the Challenger, were not much different from our Volga or even earlier vehicles. Now imagine more than 400 horsepower on a soft, comfortable suspension, and you will understand that when pressing the gas pedal, adrenaline was produced in the owner literally on every meter of the road. Acceleration to 100 kilometers per hour for the most powerful Challenger was 5.9 seconds, and the quarter mile such a monster weighing 1,600 kilograms covered in 13.7 seconds. And back then, power steering and stability control systems had not yet been invented at all. Crashing such a muscle car was extremely easy, and that is exactly what young hotheads who had just received their driver's licenses often did. There were even scandalous cases in which the excessive power of the Challenger was to blame. Specifically for the Indianapolis 500 race, Dodge provided Challengers as safety cars, equipped with the most powerful HEMI engines producing 425 horsepower. One of the drivers of such a car lost control and crashed into the grandstands with journalists. Fortunately, no one was seriously injured, but after that, reporters developed a strong dislike for the Challenger and began writing critical articles about it, which could have affected sales. But as always, for some people, even such power was not enough. Tuning had always been a favorite pastime of muscle car fans. You have often seen in movies how a monstrous structure sticks out of a cut hood. This is a supercharger, carburetor, and throttle bodies. All of this simply did not fit under the hood. A supercharger, retuned carburetor, and throttle bodies through which additional cold incoming air entered gave insane performance to an already powerful muscle car. Even 800 horsepower in the 60s was no longer the limit of that time. Such chariots were most often seen in drag racing, and that is what was happening in the 60s and early 70s. But then, the inevitable happened. Insurance companies, having studied the statistics, were horrified. The number of accidents involving powerful muscle cars exceeded all acceptable limits, and now insuring a powerful car required paying a huge amount of money. Then extremely strict standards for exhaust toxicity came into force, forcing all automakers to significantly reduce engine power. But the final blow to muscle cars was dealt by the fuel crisis of 1973. Gasoline prices jumped 3 to 4 times, which had an extremely negative impact on sales of gas-guzzling cars. Almost all automakers discontinued production of their monsters, and the same fate befell our hero. In 1974, Challenger production was stopped. This was the end of a crazy era, the era of insane and incredibly beautiful cars. In 1978, there was an attempt to revive the name Challenger. Dodge, in collaboration with Mitsubishi, began selling a slightly modified Japanese model, the Mitsubishi Galant Lambda, under the Challenger name. The engine power of this Challenger was only 114 horsepower, and there was nothing to say about dynamics compared to the multi-day monsters with hundreds of horsepower under the hood. This model looked, to put it mildly, pale and did not win the love of Americans, who made jokes about such a replacement.
And the inside is full of features like full bucket.
After that, the Challenger theme was forgotten for many years, but legends die only to be reborn. News that the famous muscle car, the Dodge Challenger, would return to serial production unexpectedly exploded in 2008. This event had the effect of a bomb going off, and within just 3 days, the entire annual production of Challengers was sold out. It was created in the style of the old good muscle cars and closely resembled the first-generation Challenger. From the start, it was available with a true American 6.1-liter engine producing 425 horsepower, which was quite good. But don't even think that Dodge stopped at 425 horsepower. Not at all. The arms race among arch rivals, namely the Mustang and Camaro, was only gaining momentum, as in the good old days. A muscle car fan would notice this and be right. 425 horsepower, 470, 515, and of course, the version from the Street Racing Technology Division, the Challenger SRT-8 Hellcat at 707 horsepower. All this magnificence was also available with a manual transmission. Acceleration to 100 kilometers per hour takes 3.7 seconds, and the top speed is limited to 321 kilometers per hour. Not only by tradition, but before telling you about the craziest Challenger on planet Earth, let's briefly go over some interesting facts. The Challenger in the SRT Hellcat version, during amateur competitions in Sweden, accelerated to 274 kilometers per hour. At first glance, there's nothing surprising here, if it weren't for one small fact. This speed was achieved by a rear-wheel drive Challenger on studded tires. On the YouTube footage, you can clearly see how unstable the Hellcat behaves on slippery surfaces at such an enormous speed. A full-drive version would be better, and surprisingly, an all-wheel drive Challenger does exist. The first all-wheel drive muscle car in the world was created, though currently such a Challenger is offered only with the weakest engine, producing 309 horsepower. But the beginning has been made. Who knows what the future holds? American tuning knows no limits and sometimes ignores common sense. What's unusual sooner or later appears in America. For instance, one tuning studio created limousines based on the Challenger SRT-8, stretching the muscle car to 3 or even 5 meters. The total length of the impressive limousine reaches 8.6 meters. When looking at such tuning, you want to give the masters a standing ovation. Most of you have probably seen shows like American Restoration, where iconic cars are restored from mud. In these shows, restoration doesn't stop at simply fixing the car. To improve dynamic performance, handling, and comfort, old parts from the 1960s are replaced with components that fully meet modern standards. In serious projects, a muscle car that originally came with a solid rear axle is upgraded with an independent rear suspension. The front suspension is also replaced, even modifying the arm kinematics, reinforcing the body, installing modern steering, engine, and transmission. In the US, you can buy a completely modified new car like this. One such Challenger upgrade project was created by a tuner. Under the hood, as in the good old days, is a 7-liter HEMI engine, modernized and heavily upgraded. It produces 540 horsepower. Projects like this genuinely excite me. It's a true work of art. And of course, the Dodge Challenger has starred in a huge number of American blockbusters, some of which are simply must-watch. Vanishing Point, 1971 and 1997, is practically one continuous chase, where Challengers play the main roles. Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof showcases the Challenger in thrilling car chases. Hello, here you have a Dodge Challenger. Awesome, mind-blowing, legendary. In Drive, one character owns a stunning custom Challenger, and in Baby Driver, the Challenger performs spectacular city drives. Of course, the Fast and Furious franchise, Parts 2, 5, 6, and 7, featured the Challenger as well. The current generation muscle car also appeared in films like Drive, Real Men, Natural Born Killers, Two Guns, Focus, and Stringer. All these films only improved the Challenger's legendary status. Now, let me introduce the Challenger possessed by a demon, the fastest in muscle car history, the SRT Demon. Initially, this car was allowed on public roads, then banned, and later permitted again. Debates about the Demon's road safety continue to this day. Engineers proudly claim it is the most dynamic production car in the world. and one of the fastest sports cars. In a quarter-mile run in 2016, the Challenger SRT Demon covered the distance in 9.6 seconds, officially verified. It became the first production car in the world to lift its front wheels off the ground during launch, even earning recognition in the Guinness World Records. Its American V8, equipped with a supercharger, turned into a monster with 852 horsepower and 1,044 Newton-meters of torque. Acceleration to 100 kilometers per hour takes a fantastic 2.5 seconds. It's important to note that these figures are achieved on a specially prepared track with racing fuel. To prevent accidents on regular roads, the Demon comes with two keys, a black key limiting the engine to 500 horsepower and a red key unlocking the full 852 horsepower with an optional engine control unit. Specialized Demon tires ensure grip, and slow-motion footage shows how they deform at launch. The suspension is tuned to distribute as much weight as possible to the rear wheels, improving traction. The car was lightened to the maximum, removing even the multimedia system and rear seats, though for a symbolic $1, everything can be restored. The Demon also includes a special drag kit, hydraulic jack, battery-powered impact wrench, tire gauge, torque wrench, and narrow front and rear wheels. There is one caveat. The car is so fast that official races require a safety cage, and the driver must have a racing license. The Dodge Challenger is a true muscle car. These cars were never known for perfect handling or advanced technology, but they cannot be stripped of style, aggression, captivating design, and insanely strong American V8 engines. People always turn their heads to admire them. This is a story of real American madness. The Dodge Challenger. The Demon represents the pinnacle of muscle car performance. Its engineering and design push the limits of what a production car can achieve, combining raw power with precision tuning. Every detail, from the supercharged 7-liter V8 engine to the specialized Demon tires, is optimized for extreme acceleration and handling. The Demon is not just a car, it's a statement. The careful weight distribution, the stripped-down interior, and the optional drag kit all emphasize its purpose: unparalleled speed and control on the drag strip. The innovative launch system and the two-key engine control allow both safe street driving and full performance racing, making the Demon versatile yet incredibly thrilling. The car's legacy is further solidified by its appearances in films and popular culture. From high-octane chases in Fast and Furious to custom show-stopping modifications, the Challenger continues to captivate enthusiasts worldwide. Each project, whether restoring a classic model or creating a modern Demon, showcases the passion and creativity inherent in American muscle car culture. In conclusion, the Dodge Challenger remains a symbol of raw power, aggressive styling, and engineering excellence. Its history, from the classic SRT Hellcat to the record-breaking SRT Demon, illustrates the evolution of muscle cars in the 21st century. For fans of speed, performance, and bold design, the Challenger is more than just a car. It's an experience and a legend, and a testament to the ingenuity and audacity of American automotive engineering.